Thank you everyone so much for being here for today's masterclass, Storytelling for Selling. I think it's so funny. I put off connecting my work to selling for so long simply because it with media and getting booked on media, it's not an immediate thing. It's not an immediate sales boost. So I was always worried about setting up people's expectations of, I get you booked on breakfast television and suddenly your calendar is full. It's part of the long game. So in this masterclass, I'm going to talk a lot about storytelling, connecting with an audience, and the understanding that we're talking about the long game. Media and marketing is the relationship that you build with your customers and your clients to get them to the sales point. The sales point is a completely different beast. So the impact that storytelling has is on setting up and sustaining the long game. So this is actually where my knowledge about television comes into play, because really the medium that has mastered the art of capturing and holding an audience's attention and building a relationship is television. So that's where a lot of my understanding is now applying into sales. So here's what you can expect in the next hour. So first, let's go through some introductions. Start with, I don't think we have time to go have everyone introduce themselves in the room, but share in the chat your 30-second pitch. I feel like there are enough businesses here that are established enough. Like, how do you typically introduce yourself in a business setting, whether it's networking or, a new environment or it's BNI? How do you currently introduce yourself and share it in the chat? While we're doing that, here's the agenda for today. So we're going to spend some time talking about the secret to successful selling. I'm not going to bury the lead. We're going to get right to the secret to successful selling. The secret might surprise you. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about emotional connection, the impact that emotional connection can have on your business and your brand, and the power and impact that storytelling has on that. And then if at the end of the hour, I've shared anything that has changed how you approach selling, it's, some dust has been, stirred up in your mind, and you're thinking, this is fantastic. How can I get more of this? I'm going to share some ways of ongoing support. So if you can mute yourself, thank you very much. So I'll share how you can get some ongoing support. So there is a document that I'll share. There's some exercise and homework that you can do right away, so you can take action on some of the things that you learned like this afternoon. And if you feel like you need additional heavy lifting, you can stick around, and I'm going to introduce the latest offer from McEwen Media. You're getting a sneak peek of the first offer that I have in this new world of sales. But again, it's invitation, right? If you want to change the channel, you've heard enough, you're good to go on your own. You don't have to stick around. But if you want to hear the details, I encourage you to stick around and hear those details. So I'm going to go into the chat and see what we have in the way of, oh my goodness, look at these powerhouse businesses in here. I'm loving these 30-second pitches. One-stop shop for unique, imaginative design, printing, and marketing. Love, love, love. Help senior leaders of companies from 20 to 400 million look at their organizations, people, process, and my goodness, like, holy cow, these people that I specialize in simplifying business processes while increasing employee engagement. This is fantastic. So first, I want to start with the good things that I'm seeing in the 30-second chat. There are a lot of clearly defined offers in the chat. Here's the ironic thing. So when it comes to understanding and mapping out your sales and marketing as a service provider and a business owner, you do actually want to start with the clear offer. In terms of your creative process, you want to start with, you have to know what you're selling and who you're selling to for anything else to make sense. Here's the mistake that some of these pitches are making, and that might be limiting your sales opportunities down the pipeline. Just because in understanding your marketing, you need the clear offer, that is never how you should introduce yourself, because you are starting the conversation with an ad. And in today's media landscape, with today's consumer, we are surrounded by pitches. We are surrounded by media, which means we're surrounded by ads. We're constantly being sold to. And consumers today, there's a trust recession. right? They're sold to all the time. They're sold the same promises all the time. They become empty promises. These sales pitches, they start sounding the same, and people start to tune out. We also have a consumer base that knows they have the power to tune this stuff out. The thumb is the most powerful tool that consumers have right now. It started with the invention of the remote control when people realized, oh, I can change the channel during commercial breaks. I never have to sit through a commercial ever again. This is incredible. And now with social media, the power is with the scrolling. The power even lasts when you're in person, when you're talking to someone at a networking event. If you go into the specifics of what you do too soon, I'm sure we've all seen that glazed over expression, right? They're tuned out. Their walls are going up because they're not at a point, they haven't consented to being sold to, and here you are trying to sell them. I know this because I did this for so long. My 30-second pitch, again, similar to what I'm seeing in the chat, very similar, very features based. This is what I do. This is why you should give me money. And when I had that sales pitch, it never went anywhere, right? No one wanted to collaborate with me. No one was following me on social media, and sales calls were few and far between. But then I made some of the changes to how I tell the story of who I am and how I'm showing up in this space. And it's completely transformed. Now, when I leave with my 30-second pitch, collaboration, I've got collaborations coming out of my ear holes, and like sales are happening constantly. I'm seeing traction with the brand. And it's all because I changed what I start the story with. So here's what that looks like. This is my 30-second pitch. So I'm Tara McEwen, an award-winning producer and founder of McEwen Media. When I started my business in 2021, I honestly thought that my business would be helping people look better on Zoom, right? Think back to that time. We were still in the pandemic. It was pre-vaccine, and we were living all of our lives on these two-dimensional screens, and it was so hard to live that way. But I knew how to set up a better shot, right? How to adjust your camera angle, your lights, your background, so that you could show up more confidently on these spaces. And in the years since, I just keep evolving what that message is. I'm always drawing on my television experience to help businesses better navigate today's media landscape. That is my 30-second pitch. What is my offer? What are the specifics? What is the outcome? Instead, what I do is show up, this is who I am. I've got some credibility, right? Award-winning television producer, the founder of McEwen Media, 20 years of experience. But I paint the picture of what I know you're dealing with as a business owner. It's hard showing up on these spaces. No one's taught you how to do media. And this is why media is this secret weapon tool to help you survive this space. I paint the picture because I save the sales pitch for last. So this is the secret to selling more and selling more effectively, is knowing what order to deliver this information. So this Venn diagram, I actually used it a lot for years in workshops on how to pitch media. So I'll be said, I was gonna say, I'll send this, take pictures, take notes, take pictures, take everything that you need. The replay will be coming at the end of the day too, so you can rewatch this as much as you want to. This Venn diagram, so when I talk about pitching, a perfect pitch is simply when your idea meets the programming needs of whoever you're pitching to. The sales pitch is exactly the same. It's when your business, your solution meets their needs. But look at everything that's involved on the side of the client, right? First, they need to be aware that they have a problem. A lot of people live with problems that they don't even realize are problems. So first, there's the education that, yeah, you have a problem. It's not just the way things are. There's a different way to be. So there's the awareness of the problem. They have to be willing to fix it, right? If you think that this is an easy thing to convince people of, like once you have a problem, of course I want to take action right away. Look at your own consumer behavior. How many of you have toothpaste on your bathroom mirror? Am I the only one? How many, like for me, we all have these like annoying messes or just these daily errands that just don't get done because they're not bad enough for us to be willing to take the time to fix it. For me, it's a loose door handle on my fridge. It's the easiest fix. I just need to go down the hallway, grab a screwdriver, tighten up some screws, and I've got a perfectly working fridge handle again. but I will live with a loose door handle for weeks, if not months, because the door still opens. The food is still cold in the fridge. So the willingness to fix the problem, people, if they have the problem, they've been living with it for a long time, so they have their ways of solving the problem. They need to be willing to do something different. So once they're willing to do something different, then they're assessing your solution. Is your solution the right solution? Do they believe that it's the right solution? And then there's the trust that they have to build in your brand. And then again, they have to be willing to take action now. All of these things are at play in the psychology of your target client and customer. And if you believe anyone who says, well, you can manipulate this stuff, right? You can give them, you can give them a deadline for them to act. You can reduce your prices. You can offer them a discount. None of that is going to move any of this stuff. These are deeply rooted beliefs. This is their own journey, and they will move when they're going to move. The only thing that will move them is what you are bringing on your side of the circle. Who you are. Who you are is not what you do. What you do is your offer, but who you are is the individual. They're looking to get into a relationship with you. It's your credentials and your credibility to build trust in your brand. It's what you value, your personality, and how you work. These are all key things for you to bring to the surface in all of your pre-sale marketing and messaging, because you need to be super clear of what you are bringing to the table and how you want to work. We'll get into ideal clients towards the end, but the more you show up, the more you lean into this messaging, and this is how you're showing up in representing your business and your brand, you are now giving people the information that they need to then move closer to the center of this discussion. Your offer, the sales conversation, happens at the end. It happens at the end of this journey, and you're simply negotiating, this is how we're going to work together. You don't entice them with the offer. You don't incentivize them with the offer. You entice them and incentivize them with all of this stuff. What is this relationship going to look like? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And does it feel right for where they are right now? So from a storytelling perspective, I'll share some behind the scenes TV-ness of it. So the audience psychology that I'm describing here, television does this all the time in how they order and structure their TV shows. So I'll use the 6 o'clock news as an example. The 6 o'clock news doesn't begin with, welcome to the 6 o'clock news. Stick around, we're going to have a commercial by GM and a commercial by Toyota. No, they don't start teasing that they're going to have a commercial break. They start with, here are the most important stories affecting you, the audience, right now. We've been covering them. This is our coverage. And then they top load their newscast with the most important stories, the local stories, the provincial stories, the national stories, the international stories, and of course, weather, because all of these things are important. They top load the newscast to develop and build trust and credibility to get you to stick around for the whole hour, because they know that a commercial break is coming up and they need to build the trust and the interest and the need for more information in that first block. If you watch the 6 o'clock news tonight and time how long that first block is and how much information is in that first block, some of them last like 20 minutes. And depending on the news cycle, it could even be the entire newscast. Media needs commercials the way you need sales conversations, right? It is the business, it is the money that keeps the business afloat. But to get people through the sales conversation and to the sales conversation, you need a great deal of information. So this is why leading and ordering your sales offer and your sales conversation is going to change everything for you. Now, in case you're starting to think, oh my goodness, I've been screwing up, it's because I'm a baby business and I'm brand new and I don't know what to do. Businesses and brands of all sizes make this mistake. They lead with the offer and build the story around it. I recently spoke to the vice president of communications at one of the big 6 banks in Canada here, and she had the exact same complaint. I asked her, well, what is your biggest concern? And she said, well, we're not getting return on our sponsored content. She's like, everything sounds like an ad and no one's reading these articles. And without even hearing about their process or seeing what she was talking about, I said, yeah, you're probably starting with the offer. And I knew this was her problem because that was the problem that I experienced working as a segment producer on the Marilyn Denis show. So when I first started working on the Marilyn Denis show, I was the finance producer. And one of my jobs was to produce the sponsored content with the main sponsor at that time, which was CIBC. CIBC always led with the product. So there was an editorial connection with their product. Like in February, we talked about RRSPs. In September, we talked about RESPs. Everything made sense. There was an editorial connection, but all of their stories and messaging centered around the offer. And then I had to create a story around it. And the first couple of months, every segment I presented to my executive producer, she would send it back to me like, this is terrible. This is not good enough for us to put to air. And eventually she explained to me the key difference that has changed how I sell my services and how I advise other clients. If they're doing integrated marketing, approach it this way. She said that the reason why my stories weren't coming together is because I started with the product itself, and the story was serving the product. I wasn't serving the audience, the problems, how they're experiencing it. She said, you need to treat the sponsored content the same way you would your editorial content. Create a segment with the problem and the advice that you know our audience needs right now, and then find a way to mention the product once, maybe twice. So I did. Every segment, we began with, what is the problem our audience is dealing with? How can we solve it? And there were always 2 or 3 like free information-based editorial solutions, and one solution was the offer. Now, it took some convincing for the sponsor to get on board with this creative process, but they did. And the results were so successful for them. Their content actually connected, and it led to more business for them. This relationship, this approach to starting with editorial and then finding a way to guide them to the offer was so successful for them that they renewed their commitment with us in increasing values every year for 5 seasons. This is, to this day, unheard of in television circles, to have a sponsorship agreement last that long. And it was all because we led with the editorial. Look at what problem your ideal client is dealing with right now, how you can solve it, and include one mention of your offer. It's the spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down. So this is how, when you're thinking in terms of the client journey, you say the specifics of your offer for the end. Even with your content, which is the trust building part of your marketing and your sales journey, you're planting seeds of what is possible, but at no point do you lead with it. The reason why you're not leading with it is because it's just your simple, again, it's your own human psychology. So I want you to think of your ideas like cars on a train. When you're coming up with content ideas, when you're coming up with marketing solutions, every idea follows, they're like cars on a train. They follow each other in the same direction and at the same pace. So if you start with the offer, everything you're going to see and understand is in this very limited scope of the problem and solution that you have tied and connected to your offer, which means you're missing out on the richness of understanding and information of what you can bring for who you are, what you value, the full weight of your specialized knowledge and credibility, and the deeper understanding of what your audience is dealing with, what your target client is dealing with right now. When you start with the problem and how they're experiencing it right now, and how you genuinely, honestly want to serve it for free, and you include a bit of the offer, now you're working in this kind of this successful integrated space. It's the same top loading of what the 6 o'clock news does. It's the same success that we did with the integrated marketing on the Marilyn Denis show. And it's just, you're changing your perspective and where you're starting the creative journey and the storytelling from. All right. And that's just the beginning, folks. There's still 2 other parts. So are there any questions? Does anyone want to go over anything? feel free, if you just need to let stuff digest, feel free to let it digest. But I feel like I need to, I've learned to control my own pacing. I tend to get really excited and shoot everyone with the fire hose. So one of the reasons why approaching it this way and nurturing the relationship is to allow yourself time to build the emotional connection. Sales is not about gamifying results or manipulating someone's decision. It's about creating a space that facilitates the right decision for both parties. You want your ideal clients, they want someone that they can trust and work with. So you're just creating an environment for that mutual decision to appear. And as you are doing that and approaching and creating that safe space, you're also building an emotional connection. Now, in business circles, we talk a lot about emotional connection, right? Consumers make decisions based on emotions. We all know not to go grocery shopping when we're hungry, but we also know that people buy based on need. They buy based on nostalgia. But have you ever stopped and thought, well, what actually is the impact of emotional connection on a brand? Well, the Harvard Business Review had that same question. So 10 years ago, they did a study on the impact emotional connection has on the return on investment for your marketing and media efforts. And they identified 4 key phases. The first column, every brand starts here. This is the loss leader phase. This is when you are simply introducing yourself to the market. If you have to reintroduce yourself to a market, you changed your format slightly and now you have to reintroduce this new concept, you're going to have a loss leader. If you're moving into a new market, you're going to see a bit of a loss leader. This just means that you're putting in more energy and resources than you're getting in return. This does not mean that your marketing is a fail. It just means you are introducing yourself. And it takes time for people to build trust and recognition and connect with you. I'm telling you, every brand starts this way. Microsoft started this way. Coca-Cola started this way. Kleenex started this way. So because every brand starts this way, every brand over time has the ability to reach the baseline. The baseline is simply people know who you are and they like what you have to offer. They're starting to engage, right? You're giving some money, you're seeing an equal exchange. What I'm putting out, I'm seeing some results in return. Most businesses will get to this third column where you're seeing more return than what you're putting out. So this is where people know who you are, they like what you do, and they understand how you're different from the competition. That's what brand differentiation means. So they have a preference, right? It's Coke versus Pepsi. They might be leaving you 5-star reviews and saying nice things about you on Google, which of course boosts your SEO. And that's an effort you don't even have to do. Someone's doing it for you. So that's where another way that you're getting an increased return on your marketing and investment. Again, most businesses get to this point because you're starting to see growth, you're starting to see a return, and you're like, well, this is great. It's working. What else is there? What else could I possibly want? Well, look at this 4th column. I mean, come on, like this is a massive increase in growth that is entirely driven by emotional connection. It's the difference between Six Flags and Disney World. So in this 4th column, people know who you are. They like what you do. They know how you're different from the competition, and they love how you make them feel. They love that feeling so much that they will pay whatever it takes to have it again. They will buy any chance, any opportunity to have that feeling. They love it so much. It is so meaningful to them. Comparing Six Flags to Disney World. So both are the exact same product, right? They're both theme parks with the same features and benefits. Thrill rides, junk food, fun for the whole family. But only Disney World has the Disney magic. Now, where does the Disney magic come from? The Disney magic comes from the traumatic childhood experience we've all had of watching a Disney movie for the first time. So share in the chat, what was the first Disney movie you remember watching and what was the impact? What was that experience like? For me, it was Dumbo. Like to this day, I cannot hear the opening lines of Baby Mine without crying. Like just that image of the Mother elephant cradling her baby. Bambi, exactly. I mean, come on, even as a grown-up, yeah, Bambi again, The Lion King, Little Mermaid, like The Lion King with Simba poking Mufasa, dead Mufasa, trying to get him to wake up. Like, even as an adult, I am still sobbing at this. So with these movies top of mind, you'll probably see the same story framework. So Disney movies that have this emotional connection all follow the same framework. There's a young protagonist, roughly the same age as the child watching the movie, who experiences a trauma, usually the death or separation of a parent. The young protagonist then sets out on a journey where they learn coping skills, they develop friendships, and they learn how to process the trauma to the point where at the end of the film, when they face the adversary, when they vanquish the foe, they lean on their friends, these new coping skills and this new inner reserve to face the adversary and release the trauma. So they can go on to their happy ending, stronger, better, more fulfilled than they did at the beginning. Disney movies at a very young age plant the core memories that teach us how to survive as humans. When you face setbacks, when you face an obstacle, it's these Disney movies that remind you you have the power within to overcome anything, right? A dream is a wish your heart makes. That's what the Disney magic is. It is powerful and it is strong. And it is something that people will pay top dollar to be in the physical place where this Disney magic is a real location. You can have breakfast with these characters. You can have meaningful exchanges with your favorite princess and just live in that feeling that everything is going to be okay. No matter what life throws at you, you're going to be fine. You're going to survive, and you're going to come out stronger at the end, because that's what Disney movies taught you as a child. You're going to pay top dollar to experience that with your children and your grandchildren and your great grandchildren. This emotional connection that comes to us through just watching these transformative stories is the reason why Disney is able to pay or charge what it charges for its parks experience. Like, it is known more for being expensive than it is for the Disney magic, but they can charge what they charge for tickets, for food, for merch, for experiences, and they never worry about selling enough tickets. They just know people will pay whatever they're going to pay to have this experience. Visiting Disney World, having a Disney experience was a bucket list item for many people coming out of the pandemic. They were one of the first tourist industries to rebound after the pandemic, all from this emotional connection. So this is the power emotional connection has on your brand. It's not just repeat business, but it's new offers. You don't have to start from scratch, right? You don't have to introduce anything or build the trust. You're just banking on the trust again and again and again. You don't have to relaunch everything. All you have to do is build the connection and hold the connection, and you can bank on that again and again and again. This is what that return is all about. And stories are the thing. They're the connective tissue that create the emotional connection. Now, stories can happen at any time during a brand. So here's a case study I want to walk you through, and the power that the right story at the right time can do for even a successful brand. I call this the tale of two Taylor tours. So these are two Taylor Swift tours, the most recent ones that she's had. So Reputation was the tour in 2018. This was the tour just before the pandemic. So by all accounts, a successful tour, right? It lasted a year, 53 shows, 7 countries, $400 million in gross. Like a success in and of its right? Guaranteed, these are the results of the third column, right? People know who she is, they like what she does, and out of all the pop stars they want to watch, they're going to go watch the Reputation tour, right? They have a preference in the pop star world. These are those results. Let's compare this to the Eras tour. 2 years long, so twice as long, 3 times as many shows, 3 times as many countries, but 5 times the gross. We're talking going from a couple hundred million to $1 billion. Do you know how hard it is to make $1 billion? She did it twice, 2 years in a row. And this is just the official gross from the tour. This isn't even the shadow economy of resale tickets. And this also isn't the economic power of the tour itself. So let us not forget, these shows were so highly coveted that if you couldn't get tickets to your hometown, you then looked at the next available concert. So people were traveling out of city, out of state, out of province, out of country even, to go see Taylor. So the host cities saw a huge surge in hotels, Airbnbs, restaurants, attractions, retail. This tour was so economically powerful that, let us not forget, the Prime Minister of Canada took to social media to ask for Canadian tour dates because we needed the pandemic relief. No other tour, no other artist had a world leader asking, can you come to my country? My people need the support. Like, only Taylor did this. And let's be honest, it's Taylor Swift's music, right? Love her stuff, but what is behind this massive increase in brand value? What happened between Reputation and the Eras Tour? It can't just be the pandemic, because a lot of artists released music during the pandemic and they didn't see this huge impact with their tour. A lot of artists had to cancel their tours, so there was pent-up demand. None of them saw this incredible, significant jump in brand value. Only Taylor did. The thing that happened between Reputation and the Eras Tour, I should say the story that happened, I don't want to refer to him as a thing, was Scooter Braun. So Scooter Braun is a talent manager who managed some of Taylor's best friends or music industry friends, Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez. Between Reputation and the Eras Tour, Scooter Braun purchased the rights to Taylor's music. He purchased the masters. Now, this is a deal that happens all the time in the recording industry. Very few artists own their own music, so it's not unusual for it to change hands. And in fact, Taylor didn't own her original masters to begin with. Like, Scooter didn't buy them from Taylor. But Taylor did not like Scooter Braun. She did not like how he managed his talent. Of course, there were 2 friends of hers. And she did not like what he planned on doing with her music. And she let her fans know this, her very loyal Swiftie following. And she let them know of her counter maneuver. At the advice of one of her other business besties, Kelly Clarkson, Taylor Swift re-recorded her entire catalog, changed the music just enough so it became original music again, rebranded that Taylor's version, and secured the rights to those songs. So Taylor has the rights to Taylor's version. Scooter Braun still has the originals, but she's created new works of art that are the same songs, called them Taylor's version. And she let her following know this. So now there is a clear line in the sand. There are clear teams established. If you're listening to music that is not Taylor's version, you're on the side of the male-dominated music industry that stole her music. But if you're a true fan, if you're a loyal fan, and if her music has meant anything to you, you are now devoting all of your time and energy and money to Taylor's version. Taylor's version is what the Eras Tour represented. This daily declaration that these are Taylor's songs. This was her life, and this is her community. So suck it, Scooter. You can have the originals. They're now worthless. It became a story of a woman claiming her power. Something was taken from her, and she took action to claim it back. So that's the story of the Eras Tour. It's Taylor versus the recording industry. That story in and of itself is powerful and would have created, a great result for her Swifties. But let's put this into the context of what people were dealing with at the time. Think back to life in 2020, 2021, and even 2022, right? We don't need to get into whether or not they should have taken measures, whether or not we should have been locked down. We were in lockdown, right? A lot of our daily lives were taken from us, were completely stripped from us in the name of public health and safety. Even though we understood why we were doing this, it didn't make it any easier to miss out on all the things that we missed out on during the pandemic. Working in an office, many people lost jobs, many people lost businesses. We lost Christmases, weddings, christenings, funerals, all kinds of rites of passage that were lost because of how we had to live during the pandemic. And then in 2022, leading into the Eras Tour, we started reclaiming our lives back. And now there's a story about a woman who was reclaiming her life in the form of her music. And you now have this lightning rod to experience and celebrate the joy and have this declaration and be in the Disney magicness of it. This is a space where you can enjoy what it's like to reclaim your life. And you can do that by buying tickets, by buying merch. Like, this is the power of emotional connection. So there's the story in and of itself. There's the greater connection of what people are dealing with. All of those things work together to create this incredible impact of the Eras Tour. She's never going to repeat this again. Like, there's no, like, the only thing that I think that can top this would be like a wedding to what's his face after the Super Bowl. Like, this is next level storytelling that is situation specific. But again, that is the power of telling the right story at the right time, giving people something to rally behind, and speaking to what they're currently dealing with. The Eras Tour tapped into that feeling of, yes, something was taken from us and we're reclaiming it back. That's the power of storytelling and emotional connection. So how can you start adding this into your branding and marketing? How can you start writing the story that is going to have emotional impact and connect with the right audience? So first, it's about understanding who you are. So thinking back to the Venn diagram, right? You have no control over what your ideal client and customer is dealing with. You have all control over what you are bringing to the table, what information you are sharing to create this connection and guide them through the sales journey. So who you are in your story is what you can control. So understanding the specifics of this character and how to play it well is going to help you change how you sell your business. So many businesses, I mean, we're service providers. We love the work that we do, right? We love the outcome that we make for our clients. They have a problem. We have a great solution. We want to champion this solution. We want everyone to know that this solution is amazing. Aren't I fantastic? I am the hero of your journey. You have a problem. You need me. I'm Wonder Woman. I'm going to come along and save the day. If you lean too far into that, you are now the hero of the story, which means for your client, you're playing the wrong character. Your client is the hero of their story. You don't want to have two competing heroes. There's only one hero of a story. Your client has a problem. They want to solve it, and they're facing an obstacle. You and your service and your offer, you are the guide, getting them over this obstacle to reach their own goal. You're not the hero, you are their guide. So let's do a deep dive of the hero and the guide relationship. So the classic hero story is Luke Skywalker from Star Wars. So Luke is, he has a clear goal. He wants to restore balance to the universe. His obstacle is the evil empire. So that's his trajectory, his story. He's the hero of that journey. Along his journey, he meets two guides. The first guide is Obi-Wan Kenobi, who introduces the concept of this cool new thing called the Force. Obi-Wan shows what the Force is capable of doing and lets Luke know that he has this capability within him. Spoiler alert, Obi-Wan dies. So then Luke has a second guide. Luke actually works with Yoda. So Yoda does the work. Yoda teaches Luke how to use the Force. He runs him through the exercises. And like every good coach and teacher, he holds Luke accountable when Luke is ready to quit. Obi-Wan is who you are and how you're delivering information in your sales and marketing. Yoda is who you are after you've agreed to work with someone. So however your business is structured, if people pay up front or if they pay afterwards, Yoda and that degree of specificity of what your service is like, save that for when you're doing the work with someone. Here's why. It comes down again to the pacing of the information and understanding the psychology and where your client is at. Imagine you're Luke Skywalker. You're 17 years old. You're a bit of a whiny brat. You're just, all you want to do is, finish your chores so you can go play your games. You experience a trauma, right? You're at the beginning of a Disney movie. He's dealing with the death of his aunt and his uncle. He's now suddenly caught up in this resistance movement that he didn't even know was happening. He is oblivious to the resistance and the dark side and the evil empire. He is not aware of this problem or any of this going on. And now suddenly he's swept up in this. Imagine if when he meets Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan's like, hey, you're Luke, we've been waiting for you. You are the secret to help us out of this mess. Did you know that the universe is made up of the good side and the dark side, and you have the power within you? You actually need to control your mind and learn how to control this energy so that you can fight faster, you can fight stronger. And oh, by the way, your greatest nemesis is also your father. Imagine if that was the opening sales pitch in that first interaction. Luke would have been like, screw this, I'm out. I am not the person you're looking for. I'm done. There's no way he had the capacity to receive all of that information. Instead, Obi-Wan meets Luke where he is, has empathy. I understand, you know what? It's really hard. I liked your aunt and uncle too. It's really, really difficult for you to be in the situation. Wouldn't it be great if the evil empire that killed your aunt and uncle, wouldn't it be great if they weren't around anymore? That's what the resistance is doing. Like, it's this gentle reveal of information that Luke needs to know on a need-to-know basis. It's what Luke is capable of understanding at that point in time. And the Force is this mystery process, right? It starts off with, these aren't the droids we're looking for. What is this powerful mind trick? Tell me more. This is how you want to pace out your sales and your marketing. There's a tendency, you love your offer, you love your process, you love all the things that are involved in it. You want everyone to know they're not ready for it. You're going to overwhelm them with information and they're going to peace out. You're simply introducing the concept of what you do. You can show the results. You can show how you use it. You can show how other people are using it. And you're planting the seeds that your client and your ideal customer has this potential to have this in themselves. But that's it. It's these gentle touches, these gentle introductions. And then when they are ready, they will then seek out Yoda and do whatever it takes to take action because they're bought in. They buy in with this gentle guidance. So Obi-Wan is who you are before the sales conversation. Yoda is who you are afterwards. I wish I had a less nerdy anecdote, but it works on every single level. So there are 3 other characters I want you to consider too, in terms of understanding who you are at various stages of the sales journey. So most stories are made up of 3 main characters. There's a victim, a victor, and a villain. I've already introduced in some way the victim and the victor narratives and how powerful they can be. A lot of brands, they don't want to be a victim because they think a victim is weak, and I don't want to be weakness. I want to be strong. I want people to trust, to work with me. A victim isn't weak. A victim is someone who is simply on the wrong side of an injustice, and they are working to reverse this. Taylor versus the male-dominated recording industry is a victim narrative. Buy Canada is a victim narrative. It's Canada versus the United States. The victim narrative simply gives people something to rally behind. It gives them a sense of autonomy. So is there something in your work, in your narrative, that can give people something to rally behind? In my own marketing, in terms of, talking to people about sales and how to approach it the right way, I keep leaning towards the power of editorial content because there is so much sales content out there that if the work that I do introduces more quality storytelling, then now I'm rebalancing the volume in the media landscape where we're using this as a communication tool and not as a sales tool. That's the correction I'm trying to work on. and I'm gathering people to rally behind and see this need as well. So where in your story can you use a victim narrative, which is different from playing the victim, to get people to rally behind you and your cause? The victor. So this is another nuanced way of understanding that you are the guide, you are not the hero. So a lot of times, especially as service providers, we get results for our clients, and it's very rewarding, and we want the recognition, right? We've done such a good job, our work is so good, look at the amazing thing that I've done for this person. There, you're playing the wrong character again. In the victory, when a client scores a victory, you are Ted Lasso. You're the coach smiling from the sidelines. Yes, it's true, you came up with the game-winning play. And yes, it's true, your players are in peak physical condition because of the exercises you took them through. But when it comes to game time, it's the players on the field who are doing the work and scoring the goals. Their victory is theirs. So be mindful of this when you're sharing testimonials. We tend to value the words and phrasings that make us look really good. Even when we're celebrating client wins, watch where you're putting the attention on you and your effort and the work that got them there. You're Ted Lasso. You're celebrating what they achieved. One way that I approach this in terms of, I actually, instead of the client wins and how I position it, I actually use it more as credibility building and showing the work itself. So when I do share, when a client gets booked on television, on LinkedIn, you'll see I'll share the link itself and then offer some insight into the interview itself. So either, something that happened behind the scenes to secure the pitch, or a way that we structure the story. It's a way of showing this is an outcome, and also enhancing, here's what you too can learn from it. It's not about celebrating, aren't I fantastic? I got this client on breakfast television. It's this thing happened. It's something I'm capable of doing. And here's what you can learn from it. It's about monitoring how and why you are sharing this information and the relationship that you're building with the people who are looking at the content. Which brings me to the final character, the villain. So no one wants to be the victim. Very few brands want to be the villain. Every business needs to be a villain at some point. So a lot of service providers, you might have to deliver some bad news, right? Think of the doctor who has to deliver a cancer diagnosis. A lot of mortgage brokers right now are delivering some very challenging information for clients in what they're able to borrow, right? And what their mortgage costs right now. For service providers, I want you all to be the victim in your sales journey, because some clients want to work with you, but they are not the right fit. This is why you have to turn that business down. How you feel about your business and how it feels to be in your business directly impacts how you sell and promote your business. So if you love what you do, and if you are batting 100 and every single client is rewarding and fulfilling and everyone's getting what their needs met, you are going to champion and rally that business like nobody's business, right? It's going to be the best thing ever, and you're going to carry that energy as you sell and promote that business. But if you have a handful of cringy clients where you're spending more time managing them than you are serving them, now the business feels heavy. Now it feels like it's a drain. So who wants more of something that's giving you stress? So curating who you are actually working with indirectly, or directly, I should say, affects how you're going to promote your business. So protect that space and that energy so you can continue selling to the best of your ability. Every villain has the ability to have a redemption arc. Even Darth Vader at the end sacrificed himself to save his son. Again, a spoiler alert, but the movie's 40 years old. So when you have to play the villain, think of how you can have your redemption arc, right? If you're delivering bad news, if you're a fitness trainer and you're asking for 5 more burpees, explain why it's for their greater good. So in your sales journey, when you are turning down business, and you will be turning down business for your own good and for the good of your ideal client, have people in your referral network that you can send them to instead. So this is something that I do all the time. My marketing is at a point where every single person who's booking a discovery call is ideal. They have great stories. They have great intentions of why they want to share it. Where I turn down business is when they're either not ready for my work or they have misunderstood the problem. So sometimes they're coming to me because they have a cash flow problem, and that's why they want to think about marketing and sales. So I have accountants to send them to instead. Like, what you're actually looking for is immediate cash and immediate money. You want to deal with a money person. Other times too, there's nothing wrong with their current messaging, but they might be losing money in the funnel itself. So I have strategic people that I can send it to instead, where it's like, yeah, they'll take a look at your website and how you're currently selling your product, fix those leaks instead. Because the right message in a leaky funnel is not going to lead to more business. And some businesses are doing all the right things. They just need to cut their expenses. and now they're profitable again. So, and here's why this is my redemption arc. When I turn business down for these reasons and I have someone to refer them to, I'm now planting seeds for future conversations, right? I've demonstrated my sophisticated understanding of what they're really dealing with and what is best for their business, which sometimes isn't me. So by the time they do fix their current problem and they get to a point where it does make sense to work with me, I'm not starting from scratch. We're not reintroducing, we're not reinventing the wheel. I'm actually enhanced the emotional connection, the trust and credibility in turning down business in this way. So how does everyone feel on a scale of awesome to awesome? How powerful was this masterclass, right? Storytelling, really, it changes everything. So here are some things that you can take. I feel like I've introduced some big concepts, some weighty concepts. So here's how you can move from understanding to actually taking action on these things. So in the chat, Tristan, if you can share the Google Doc first. So in the beginning, when we were talking about the 30-second pitch, it's true. I started with a very features-based 30-second pitch and then transitioned into a more personality-led pitch. There was an actual process to that. So I've written down some of the creative exercises, some of the journaling exercises that I use to rework the story that I tell in my 30-second pitch. So this is something that you all can do right away. I will share this with the recording itself. So if you're watching the recording, it's coming to you in the form of an email. If you're having a difficult time accessing the document, it will come to you at some point later today. Spend some time reworking how you introduce yourself, because the 30-second pitch, it's that ripple effect that once you change your storytelling here, the way you change your storytelling and the rest of your sales and marketing follows suit. So again, it's like those cars in a train. You're changing the first thing and it affects everything else. So that's something you can take action on right away. First of all, show of hands, have I said anything in this hour that has gotten you to think differently about how you're showing up and how you're story selling, I should say. Yeah, hands up, right? How could it not? So if I've given you a new thing that you want to try out, a new way of selling, a new way of communicating, but you're like, I don't know if I'm ready to go on my own, here is how I can continue to support you in an immediate short-term way. So I realized I said earlier, I don't do high pressure sales of a deadline. This one does have a deadline. So this is the story selling challenge. It does begin on Monday, only because it made sense in my calendar. So the story selling challenge, this is the first offer that I have in terms of supporting people with their storytelling for sales. The storytelling challenge is running through the month of March. There are 3 parts to it. The first part alone, I did something similar. So it's a 30-day sales simulation challenge. So every single person who takes part in the challenge, you'll be randomly paired up with a partner. So Tristan, if you can share the link with that in the chat as well. You'll be randomly paired with a partner to take turns selling to each other. I did this summer and it was super transformative. It normalized having sales conversations. So I got to go get over a whole bunch of blocks that way. And the way that I talk about the business and talk about the services just became more natural and it became more of a conversation. So use this sales simulation to test out these new storytelling techniques, right? Being the guide, being the victim, being the villain, right? How does it feel to hold back the details of your offer to the very end. Practice this in the sales simulation. It's a low stakes environment. You're not testing it out on potential clients. So test out, work out the kinks there. The best part about the sales simulation is you're going to get real-time feedback on what it felt like to be on the receiving end of these calls. Your friends aren't going to give you honest feedback. Your family isn't going to give you honest feedback, and neither of your colleagues will. A stranger will. So you get to workshop and market test this verbiage in real time for 30 days. So that in and of itself is transformative. And I've added 2 other features. So during the month of March, if you sign up for the Story Selling Challenge, I'm offering 3 coaching sessions. These are optional, right? If you can't find the time to do it, you don't have to show up live, but they'll be happening at the beginning, the middle, and the end, Mondays at noon. In these coaching sessions, I will simply show up, and if there's any part of your marketing that you're struggling with and you want some creative feedback, you want a workshop, how is this sounding? Is there a better way to approach this? That is what the coaching session is all about. It doesn't have to be specifically the story selling challenge itself, but if you're having some challenge with a story, you can have these 3 coaching sessions and have access to it. In addition to that, you also get a private group chat. The group chat is part of my website. So if you're not into Meta right now, no problem. It's on the mcewenmedia.ca website. In this chat, you can ask questions, share your wins, and share resources, tips, tricks, books, podcasts. As business owners, the more we talk about selling and selling strategies, the more we can all help each other to just sell better and more efficiently. The full investment for this is $150. So to create the environment to facilitate a decision, consider these things. How many of your program, your offers, do you need to sell in order to make that money back? In terms of the time investment, you have complete control and autonomy over how much or how little you engage with this 30-day challenge, right? The sales simulation calls you can book according to your schedule. The story coaching sessions are optional, and the group chat is always there for the 30 days for you to dip in and dip out. So while you are making this decision, and some of you may have decided this is brilliant, I'm signing up right now, but while you're making this decision, just consider those things. Knowing how selling feels like right now, if you take the month of March to do an intensive exploration of how to do it differently, what can the rest of your year look like? I'm amazed I got that down into 1 hour. Clearly, I could talk about this stuff all day. And of course, if at any point in time you want some, to check in and learn more about, who I am and what I do, you can book a discovery call at any time. But I just thank you so much for listening to me today. I am very passionate about how this work works. I know that it works, and I'm here to help you navigate this changing media landscape. So thank you. Good luck. God bless. I'm trying to think of a Star Wars reference to round it out, but thank you so much for being here today.